In the summer heat of the American Southwest, a man named Forrest Fenn quietly ignited one of the greatest treasure hunts in modern history. It began not with fanfare, but with a book, a small, self-published memoir called The Thrill of the Chase. Within its pages, buried among poems and stories of a life richly lived, was a secret that would consume thousands of people for over a decade. Somewhere in the Rocky Mountains, Fenn claimed, a bronze chest filled with gold, jewels, and ancient artifacts was hidden, and anyone with the wit, courage, and perseverance to follow his cryptic poem could find it. The legend spread like wildfire. At first it seemed almost unbelievable. A real-life treasure hunt, hidden by a retired art dealer who had once brushed shoulders with presidents, archaeologists, and explorers. But this was no hoax. Fenn had lived a life as colorful as the landscape he loved. Born in Temple, Texas in 1930, he was a fighter pilot in Vietnam, flying over 300 missions. After leaving the Air Force, he reinvented himself as an art dealer in Santa Fe, New Mexico, turning his gallery into one of the most prestigious in the country. He amassed wealth, fame, and an enviable collection of rare artifacts. Yet, as he approached his later years, a brush with cancer changed him. Confronted with his own mortality, he wanted to leave behind something that would outlast him. An adventure, a story, a spark of wonder in a world that had grown cynical. The treasure, he said, was real. 24 pounds of gold nuggets, ancient jade carvings, Spanish gold coins, and pre-Columbian relics, all sealed in a bronze chest weighing over 40 pounds. He hid it somewhere in the vast wilderness of the Rocky Mountains, in Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, or New Mexico, and then he gave the world a poem. 12 cryptic lines, written in the style of a riddle from another age. Begin it where warm waters halt, and take it in the canyon down. Not far, but too far to walk. Put in below the home of Brown. The poem continued, offering subtle clues that many believed could lead to the treasure. But like any great mystery, it was written with the precision of a man who had spent a lifetime studying art, language, and the power of suggestion. Each word, each comma, each image felt deliberate. Was it a map? A metaphor? A puzzle layered with personal memories and geographical hints? No one knew for sure. By 2011, the hunt was fully underway. Searchers from across the United States, and even other countries, poured into the Rockies with GPS coordinates, maps, compasses, and dreams of glory. Online forums buzzed with speculation. People analyzed every syllable of the poem, tracing warm waters to hot springs, home of Brown to trout rivers, and no place for the meek to rugged canyons. The chase became an obsession. Some quit their jobs, others spent entire savings. A few risked and lost their lives. The beauty of it all was that no one knew if they were even close. The poem was Fenn's only true guide, and he refused to give additional clues beyond the few cryptic hints dropped in interviews. He insisted the chest was hidden somewhere accessible to an average person, not requiring climbing or diving. It was out there, he said, waiting for someone who truly understood him, someone who could see the world as he did. For Fenn, the treasure was never just about gold. It was about rekindling a sense of adventure in people's hearts, the same wonder he had felt exploring the canyons and riverbeds of the Southwest as a boy. He wanted people to step away from their screens, to walk under the wide sky, to feel the pull of discovery. And they did. Tens of thousands of searchers took to the mountains, hiking through snow, rivers, and forests, following the trail of a man's poetic imagination. But the chase had a darker side. In 2013, a man named Randy Bilyeu went missing while searching for the treasure along the Rio Grande. His body was found months later. More deaths followed, others who underestimated the danger of the terrain or the lure of the unknown. Each tragedy drew media attention and renewed debate. Was Fenn's treasure an inspiring adventure or a dangerous obsession? Fenn expressed sorrow but never regret. If someone dies searching for the treasure, he said once, maybe they died doing something they loved. For him, the thrill of the chase outweighed the risks. As years passed, the legend grew. The chest became a modern myth, a story that captured the imagination of a restless world. Books, podcasts, and documentaries flourished. People compared theories, created maps, debated secret meanings. Some believed Fenn had never hidden anything at all, that it was an elaborate hoax. But then in June 2020, the world learned the truth. After more than a decade, Forrest Fenn announced that the treasure had been found. The search was over. He released a simple statement. It was under a canopy of stars in the lush, forested vegetation of the Rocky Mountains, and it had not moved from the spot where I hid it more than 10 years ago. I do not know the person who found it, but the poem led him to the precise spot. The announcement sent shockwaves through the community. For many, it was the end of an era. For others, it was a new mystery. Who had found it? Where exactly was it hidden? Why wasn't the location revealed? A few months later, through court documents, the finder's identity emerged. Jack Stueff, a 32-year-old medical student from Michigan. He confirmed that he had found the chest in Wyoming after 2 years of intense searching. He described the feeling as surreal, even bittersweet. I think I understand now why Forrest wanted people to experience the chase, he said. It wasn't about the treasure itself. It was about the journey, the discovery, the obsession that makes you feel alive. But the revelation didn't end the controversy. Lawsuits erupted from other searchers who claimed they were close or that the hunt was rigged. Some accused Fenn of deception. Others said the treasure's discovery was a cover-up. Conspiracy theories bloomed, as they always do when mystery meets emotion. And then, just 3 months later, Forrest Fenn died at age 90. The man who had started one of the greatest modern legends was gone, leaving behind a legacy that was as complex as it was enduring. Even after his death, the fascination refused to fade. People wanted to know the full story. Where exactly in Wyoming had the chest been hidden? Why there? And what deeper meaning lay in the poem's words? Stueff and Fenn's estate eventually released some photos of the treasure and confirmed the approximate region. But Fenn's exact reasoning remained locked in mystery. He had taken that part of the secret with him. The chest, when opened, contained gold coins, nuggets, jade carvings, a 17th-century Spanish cross, and a miniature golden dragon, relics from across history. But for many, the true treasure had always been something intangible. It was the spark of adventure in a modern world that often feels too mapped, too explained. Fenn had managed to awaken something primal, the need to explore, to risk, to believe that there is still something undiscovered just over the horizon. Even today, people continue to debate the poem's meaning. Some claim that Fenn's clues were far more personal, references to his favorite childhood fishing spots, or to private memories known only to his family. Others believe the poem was layered with metaphor, a reflection on mortality, time, and legacy. If you've been wise and found the blaze, he wrote, and many still wonder what the blaze really meant. A white marking on a rock, a metaphor for enlightenment, or simply the light of one's own understanding. The story of Forrest Fenn's treasure is more than a tale of gold buried in the mountains. It's a parable about curiosity and courage, about obsession and the human longing for meaning. It shows how a single man's imagination can set thousands of hearts beating with the same pulse of adventure that once drove explorers into uncharted seas. Fenn's legacy is complicated. He inspired and endangered in equal measure, but he also proved that mystery still matters. In a world of instant answers and digital maps, he dared to remind us that not everything valuable can be found with a click. Some things must be earned, through sweat, intuition, and persistence. The poem, the chase, the gold, they were all symbols of a greater truth, that life itself is the treasure, and that the journey toward it, with all its risks and rewards, is what gives it meaning. Jack Stueff later wrote that finding the chest didn't bring him the closure he expected. It was beautiful, he said, but also strange. I realized that what I had been chasing was not a box of gold, but a story, and that story belonged to everyone who ever believed in it. In the end, the treasure of Forrest Fenn wasn't buried under pine needles or hidden beneath stones. It was buried in the hearts of those who searched, in every person who stood in a canyon and wondered if they were the next to uncover a dream. The mountains still stand, silent witnesses to a decade of hope and heartbreak. Somewhere out there, perhaps, the wind still whispers through the pines, carrying echoes of that poem, 12 lines that became a legend. And though the chest has been found, the chase never truly ends, because what Forrest Fenn really gave the world wasn't just gold. It was a reminder that there are still mysteries worth chasing and adventures waiting for those brave enough to look. And perhaps somewhere deep in those same mountains, the spirit of the old treasure hunter lingers, smiling as strangers follow trails he once walked, their hearts beating fast with the same thrill he felt long ago. After all, he once said, "If you find the treasure, bring it back to your car and sit there quietly for a few minutes. Let it sink in, because you've done something remarkable. You've lived a story." The story of Forrest Fenn lives on, not as a tale of riches, but as a testament to the human hunger for wonder. His chest may have been found, but the poem, the mystery, and the dream of discovery endure. Somewhere, someone is still tracing the words, "Begin it where warm waters halt." And in that moment, the chase begins again.